What's up, guys? We got UFC 306 coming up this weekend, and I was so excited when I originally heard they were going to do this in the Sphere. I think it sounds like a really cool card in concept. Unfortunately, I think the card itself is not exactly what we were expecting. So, of course, you've got Merab versus Sean O'Malley. I think that's going to be a banger. I love how Sean fights. He's an amazing striker. I think Merab, yeah, he's a great wrestler. They make a good, uneven matchup. It's a crazy wild. They're both the best at what they do. Two really close, tough to call. I think maybe if it was just at wrestling, if he can keep the pressure on, I think you're gonna have to give this to Merab. I gotta say that if he can keep his distance, though, Sean will take the win. If he can keep his distance, it's gonna be hard to do. Merab was able to keep on top of Peter Yan, and that's so hard to do. You know how good of a striker Peter Yan is. Up next, you got Grasso versus Val. Now this is the third time they've met. Grasso's 5 years younger. I will give this easily, unfortunately, to Grasso. Valentina Shevchenko, I love her. I love how she dances. I think it's one of the more exciting women's fights of this year. I think that's a definite evident, but you got to give it to Grasso. After that, probably one of the best bangers on the card. You've got Diego Lopez versus Brian Ortega. Again, I like them both, but I gotta give it up to Diego Lopez. He's my boy, undefeated, right? I think it's phenomenal. I think Diego Lopez is he's something else. I think he's outstanding out there. And this is my opinion, it looks to me like the matchmakers at UFC said, you know what, we got three good fights. That's pretty good. Let's pack it in. Our biggest fighters on there, of course, with our last ones with the lightweights, 155ers. That's it. I think that's a pretty big gamble for Dana White and the UFC, not having a middleweight or even a welterweight on the card there. Not what I would have recommended. But again, I don't work for the UFC. And of course, what are you competing with? You've got the Canelo Alvarez matchup, which I think a lot of people are going to be watching it. I think that's pretty cool that Dana said that he's going to be streaming the fight, I guess, maybe at 11 or 10 or midnight or something, whatever it comes on Eastern. Or I think that's good that he's doing that. But overall, I think what you're missing is you're missing a big fan base that's going to be tuning in really to watch that boxing that night. So you're having that split. I think maybe they did Dana dirty that night, but I think the card could have been stronger. You could have, I mean, you can never get some of those fighters. I don't know if Bo Nickal's not fighting because he's out killing elk. But there's other guys that maybe he could have had it there. Hamza, maybe you can never get him in the U.S. I don't know, but there's plenty of other fights that maybe you could have made happen to made this into it's definitely not as good as 300, and there's been other just fight nights that have been much better this year. I think from what I understand, the concept of how they're filming it is going to be unique. I think that's going to be exciting to see, but I would imagine that overall, maybe ticket sales are not, maybe they'll say they'll sold out, I don't know. But I think it's not going to be what you would expect from the hype that was poured into this. It could have been a much stronger card, and that's not to take anything away from Merab and Sean and Valentina versus Alex Grasso, but this is, maybe it could have made the card stronger. I think that the UFC matchmakers did the big, there's your big names there, a disservice by not adding on another fight, maybe one more fight to round out that card and make it a little stronger. Again, I don't work for UFC. These are just my opinions out there. I mean, you got Zalupa on there is 3-1 in the UFC on a main card. Okay, but you're that's gotta be the worst thing. But who's his opponent? Ripovic? 2-1 on a main card? Again, I would have never done this. I think that is letting down the fans that are going to be paying for this. It could have been a much stronger, and letting down Sean, Merab, and Valentina and Grasso. That could have been this could have been a much bigger event. Big props, of course, to Canelo. I think I'm really excited for that boxing match. I think it should be a good night, but it could have been a great night. Thanks again for questions, and keep asking wildlife or any UFC questions. We'll boss out.